I trust you're doing well. I'm Ethan Tashavia. You're watching RwandaTV News live from Kigali. Rwanda's National Commission for Human Rights has told parliamentarians that despite problems arising from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, the country's government has nevertheless taken measures to address them. Sergeant Noel kicks off tonight's edition with this report.
The Commission made its presentation as part of the 2020-2021 report highlighting the issues.
As part of the measures to fight the spread of COVID-19, economic activities were limited, resulting in a rise in unemployment. The Commission has found that employment opportunities are now once again on the rise as the measures are eased and economic recovery plan is in place. The Commission also found that some people lost the means to make a living, especially day laborers who were being paid through wages, and the government took measures to distribute food supplies to such people as well as other basic necessities.
The parliamentarians gave their input on the different issues discussed and how they can be better addressed. On the matter of the high number of inmates in the country's prison system, apart from community service as an alternative to imprisonment, are there no other ways of reducing the number of people in prisons? I am thinking of more bail approvals and paroles, with people followed up on the outside.
I want to do advocacy so that when budgets are restricted, visits are made to such rehabilitation centers so that the problems are ascertained and addressed.
I want on those issues that were highlighted on different mindsets and attitudes as well as sensitization efforts. I want research to be done on those mindsets of employers that don't hire women, girls that don't join technical vocational training schools, and the problem of abuse cases. That sort of research can provide us with more answers to such problems affecting the rights of people and families. The chairperson of the National Commission for Human Rights noted that the problem of overcrowding in prisons is being dealt with.
They showed us that community work as an alternative to prison time will be enforced after the presidential decree on that matter has been established. That is still being done because the law governing the Rwanda Correctional Service is being amended to give that institute the legal power to follow up on people serving such sentences outside of prison.
The number of the inmates in the country's 14 prisons has increased by 30.6% in the last 4 years, hitting slightly more than 76,000.
Now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Vincent Biruta, says there is a growing concern for deniers of the genocide against the Tutsi, especially in Europe and North America. During a virtual appearance before the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs and Cooperation and Security on topic themed the role of Rwandan embassies in combating denial of the genocide against the Tutsi, Minister Biruta told legislators that genocide deniers have been using social media and other mediums to negate the genocide against the Tutsi. According to Minister Biruta, the freedom of expression has provided pretext for genocide denial, which has been taken advantage of by those who distort history of the country and to say that there was double genocide in Rwanda. Minister Biruta said that in response to the issue, anti-denial meetings and public lectures were being organized and memorials for the genocide against the Tutsi were being set up in foreign countries. Now, the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs and Cooperation as well as Security, Bideri John Bones, and the senators in general have indicated that there is a need to set up efforts, rather to step up efforts to address and combat genocide denial, especially in the diaspora.
Most importantly, we must continue to reach out to countries that have not yet enshrined in their laws the crime of denying the genocide against the Tutsi. There are few countries that have criminalized genocide denial, but many others are yet to do so. As we know, that require political will in those countries. The aim of those who deny the genocide is to continue to undermine the unity of Rwandans and to continue their evil plan of exterminating the Rwandan people as they have done in the past, which is why they must be opposed. We often say that these countries have extradited genocide suspects to be tried in Rwanda. But when you look at the list of countries that have sent genocide suspects, they are not the ones with majority of these wanted fugitives. Many genocide perpetrators are in African countries. Only a few fugitives have come from African countries compared to those who have been sent from distant countries. About 4 neighboring countries, that is to say Congo-Brazzaville, Gabon, Malawi, have cooperated. I wonder what the role of Africans is. Does AU discuss this issue and put the task to those countries that are hosting the genocide suspects?
Now, Minister Biruta, in his responses, said that in response to the issues raised by senators, denial meetings and public lectures are being organized, and the memorials for the genocide against the Tutsi are being set up in foreign countries to keep sensitizing people and also to combat genocide denial. Now, in other stories making headlines, the Rwanda National Police is appealing to the citizens of Kigali City to report anyone who disturbs the peace of the people. According to some reports and other people, some youth are using the cover of the night to rob people. Now, Derek Muhanji has this report.
In Runyinya settlement, Nyamirambo sector, Nyarujenje district, professional patrols work day and night to maintain security. The village has been ranked as one which is crime-free. Residents say the reward is due to the patrol security and the collaboration of its citizens. With this, no one can disturb their peace.
The security of the area works to its best in a sense that even if an avocado falls on the road, they come immediately to see what's happening. I've been here for 18 years and I live alone, but I've never heard of any complaints, which means security is guaranteed.
When someone screams, we immediately come in for help. To add on, I can't host a visit without registering him or her at the cell. Even if it's the case in other parts of the city, people are complaining that the youth are robbing them in the night hours as they head back to their homes from work.
We were heading home when 2 guys approached us who seemed to be discussing among themselves. They strangled us and took our mobile phones and money worth 200,000 francs. I still have a scar on me.
The spokesperson of the National Police of Rwanda, CP John Bosco Kabera, says that the security situation in Kigali is generally good and urges the victims to report on time so as to arrest thieves.
Generally,
security in Kigali is good and robbers are apprehended and prosecuted in courts of law. All we ask is that people report such instances, and we continue to warn criminals to rethink their intentions because it will not help them but rather land them in prison. Article 165 of the Penal Code states that a person convicted of theft by court shall be punished and imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years and a fine not more than 2 million Rwandan francs. Derek Muhanji, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Derek, for that report. Rwanda is introducing e-learning in secondary and vocational training schools. Officials say this new learning methodology will facilitate a long-distance learning program, and at the same time, learners will be able to work and study without necessarily having to attend physical classes. Jen Mutoni has more.
In e-learning, a student in vocational training that includes practical courses or any other course is sent notes and diagrams in form of videos or images from the teacher. Hence, they are able to catch up with classes without having to attend usual face-to-face classes and have time to do other activities or career at the same time. Students in vocational and technical schools find this way of learning very helpful. Some students were scared of taking vocational courses because it is more hands-on and the equipment that we use are inadequate compared to other courses. But now that there is a way of learning from home without having to be at the workshop, they will now register. The heads of vocational schools say students will be able to apply what they learn in their careers as they study and work.
A student is able to access notes on the school portals using his or her laptop or smartphone without having to attend face-to-face classes. And with the help of illustrations of videos and images, they are able to understand the notes. Tests or quizzes are displayed on the portals, which they do and earn marks. For example, teaching 25 students how to butcher a whole cow would normally require 25 cows for practical purposes as commended. But through this way of learning, a teacher can take a video while showing every step and students are able to watch. In that way, he or she will watch and
learn at any time to understand.
The
The MasterCard Foundation has sponsored the launch of this program. The Ministry of Education points out that during the COVID-19 lockdowns, students in vocational schools were unable to resume classes like other courses because they were required to do practical work. The Minister of State in charge of ICT and TVET, Irere Claudette, says e-learning will solve such problems. If a student in agriculture and animal husbandry is not able to attend classes, he or she has an option of taking the courses through e-learning and practice or learn from home. One is able to practice from home and pass the tests and finally get a certificate. This way they are able to work and study at the same time. Initially, 20 vocational and practical courses are going to be offered on the e-learning program in 16 of vocational and technical secondary schools and in all the 8 vocational institutes, IPRCs, across the country. Jane Mutoni, RTV News.
Thank you, Jane, for that report. Now, many years ago, a Rwandan girl was abandoned in a refugee camp in Tanzania and later fell in love with a Japanese diplomat, and the couple had 3 children before she died. And a few years later, the Japanese man returned to Japan. Lost and left alone, one of the 3 children embarked on a painful search for her mother's roots in Rwanda at the peak of the Tutsi execution in the country, but she was sent back to Tanzania. Abandoned, her father returned 14 years later to take her to Japan, where her life turned into a nightmare and made her run to the US, where she lives now as a senior nurse. After terrible divorce due to her background, she wrote a book titled The Butterfly with Brown Spot, which she is launching in Rwanda as a tribute to her mother and consider it as a honorable way to return to her motherland and a celebration for finally finding her real identity. Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me the author of the book, who is Michiko Honda. She got the name Umugabe Kaze. Many thanks for finding time to speak to us and joining us on RwandaTV. Honda. Hello, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Your story is, I don't know how to describe it, but it's an interesting one. It's a painful one at some point, but finally, you're back home. How does that feel?
It feels like, I have something lifted off my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I feel I'm home. I feel this is where I belong.
This is where you belong. So the book, A Butterfly with Brown Spots, if you could tell us, we just briefly talked about the history of your life. But what inspired the title of the book, but also what inspired the story in the book that you launched actually this evening?
So A Butterfly with Brown Spots, actually, the topic itself came from the influence of brown butterfly.
Yeah.
So when you look at the definition of brown butterfly, it's kind of a new beginning. So I wanted to have new beginning. And this is where my new beginning starts.
So were you were born in Tanzania? Which
Yes.
part of Tanzania?
Mwanza, Tanzania.
Mwanza. To a Rwandan mother
Yes.
and a Japanese father.
Yes.
At some point you came to Rwanda.
Yes.
How old were you then?
I was about maybe, I was a child when my mom died, so we were about 13.
13, 14.
Yes.
So what did you find at that particular time when you came to Rwanda? And many years later, I understand that you're 47 now.
46.
46.
Yes.
So
Next
when you
year
came,
I'll be 47.
yes, when you came at that time,
Yes.
what did you find, and what do you get to find now that you're here at this particular point?
The first time I came, I was with my aunt, so we were actually just, our mom deceased, and my auntie thought that if she could bring us back to Rwanda, we would get help because we didn't have any family left in Tanzania. So without the paperwork and the struggle that we had to go through, we managed to get to Rwanda, but later we got declined, and so we had to go back. But in the middle of going back, we were fortunately, someone, a stranger, just gave us a chance and said, there's a way, or, kind of say your grandparents, they had relocated to Burundi. So we managed to go to Burundi, and we met our grandfather and grandmother. But in those days, what I can recall, what they said that it wasn't safe to be there. So then we were rejected and went back home. Now, as a grown-up person, and do a lot of research to wanted to come home, I came 2015, the first time. And when I came here, I saw Rwanda is beautiful. They call it Clean City. And I felt home, and I actually get out of the plane and just lie on the ground and just feel the land and feel home.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the feeling is just, you just feel that you're at home.
So did you get to see your relatives? Do you know some already that you've met? It's a long journey. We cannot exhaust it in the few minutes we have.
Yes.
But have you met some of them?
Yes, so when I came 2015, I met my cousin, I met my aunt, and two aunties actually, and about four cousins.
Yeah.
Yes.
What does it mean for you finally finding your identity and being called Rwandan?
For such a long time, I felt displaced child. And when I lived in Tanzania, every time they asked me when am I going home, I looked different. And there was a lot of, because I looked different, and they asked me to go home, and when is your dad gonna come and get you? So then when I moved to Japan, then it was another. So in Tanzania, actually, I was more like Mzungu, light skin, in Swahili Mzungu. But I was light skinned, so I was considered not Tanzanian. When I went to Japan, however, they actually saw me as a black person. So now the problem was, you don't belong here and you have to go back. Then when I moved to United States, now my status changed and they called me light skin. So I saw myself that one person have different view from different continents. But
now
finding, finding Rwanda and come home and overwhelmed welcome and love, and the first initial, Uncle Tom, when I met him, he welcomed, and the moment he said, welcome home, this is your home, I just felt something in my body is just going through, and feel that, yes, this is the DNA, I belong here.
So, you're a mother of two, and have your children visited the country, and what do you tell them now?
Well, so I had to find out first before you bring children if this was the right place, these were, right relatives. And then I had to actually win them over a little bit by little, what happened to my life. And now I feel like to bring them home and for them to feel that they have home too. It's an honor for my children and for me to get here today.
What are the brown spots in your book that you're talking about? Is this different spot that make who you are?
Well, I felt like yes, the color in itself. So that brown spots is, I think when you look at the butterfly, I think we can define it in so many different colors. And I think that's what I was defined.
Okay, what does someone find in your book? And if someone read your book, let's say a mother that has gone through the same story, or a father that has gone through the same story, what do you want to portray in your book?
I really wanted to tell everybody that regardless what happened, to your life. It happened to me, but I didn't stop. I look at life as there's something can happen in your life, but there's a positive if you make an effort and forget what happened, because things happen that we did not have control over. And so I will urge people to forget, forgive, and have the courage to go on.
Did you carry a copy of your book?
Yes, I do have it.
You do?
Yes.
Show us the, okay, that's the card. So where do we find it now?
Right now the book is on Amazon, US,
Yeah.
because they have a different countries, but Amazon US. And within 1 to 2 weeks, we'll be able to ship the books here, and it will be at the store where we had launched it at Arise Bookstore.
Arise Bookstore.
Yes.
Now, Mishiko Honda Mugabekazi, many thanks for finding time to speak to us. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We appreciate, and welcome back home.
Urakoze.
Rakoze and nashukuru sana. That is the story of Mishiko Honda Mugabekazi, who has gone through a lot, went through different continents to find her identity, but she's finally home, and we appreciate her finding time to speak to us. Now, in other stories, officials in the Ministry of Environment, have noted that local factories are not properly protecting the environment because they're not doing enough to purify and reuse the water they require to operate, nor do they properly dispose of the waste. Serge Nori reports.
Those in the industrial sector admit that more needs to be done to protect the environment because of the impact irresponsible operations at factories and processing plants can have. This processing plant uses a lot of water, and you cannot just dump it afterwards without first purifying it. After we use such products, we have no use for them here. So we signed an agreement with Ecoplastic, a factory that produces plastic products, and they take them and recycle them. Officials in the Ministry of Environment are stressing that the waste from local factories can be devastating to the environment when it is not properly processed.
When setting up a factory, you must think long-term and ask yourself if it will still be operational 5 to 10 or 100 years in the future. You must think of the environmental impact it will have, especially when it comes to waste management. You must find ways to become more efficient and profit in the process.
Training is now being provided to those in the industrial sector on how to properly manage industrial waste and even make it productive. We know that we use water in our daily activities, but the waste water coming from these factories is a lot. The habit of just dumping such water must stop because it can be purified and reused. When it comes to energy consumption, people must learn to switch off their lights when they are not using them. The savings can be huge at the end of the month just by doing that. When it comes to rubbish, certainly some of the things we throw away can still be useful. The National Industrial Research and Development Agency has confirmed that 142 factories have now been trained on waste management, including the recycling and reuse of water. With slightly more than $5.1 million invested by the industries in resource-efficient and cleaner production practices, and a total of slightly more than $6.5 million made in financial savings because of those practices, the industrial sector has already begun to see the economic benefits of protecting the environment.
Now, in Chirehe district, a number of residents have been complaining that some of their property was damaged because of the Rusumo hydroelectric project. Residents neighboring this hydro project say that they have been waiting for 4 years to be compensated for the damages caused. Serge Nori has more.
The hydroelectric dam itself will soon be complete, and at the start of its construction, a number of local residents were compensated and relocated, but there are those left that are worried that they will not be compensated. We have a serious problem because of the dynamites being blown up by the project NELSAP, and some people have even decided to leave their homes because of all the damage they have sustained. We have notified the local authorities at the district, sector and cell levels. They are aware of it.
I have a problem with oil blasting, and I believe you can see what it has done to my house. They are doing nothing for us despite the reports we submit and their visits, and we are worried because in 3 months the project will have ended. My entire farm was flooded, 250 by 45 meters in size. I gave them a photocopy of my land deed, and they told me to open a bank account for the compensation money, which I did, and they still have not given it to me.
Officials from the Rwandan chapter of the Nile Basin Discourse Forum have met with the local residents and promised to do advocacy on their behalf, while the Nile Equatorial Lake Subsidiary Action Program, or NELSAP, has given assurances that all compensation claims will be settled by the end of this year. 90 individuals are to be compensated more than 100 million Rwandan francs because of flood damage, while NELSAP agreed to compensate 24 houses damaged by nearby blasting activities.